We were on top of the roof of Seeds of Hope every morning when we prayed, and as you'd look out and see the men and going to work and the children walking to school, it just really touched me that these are God's chosen children, these are God's chosen people, and they're so blind to that. And they could be the princes, and yet they are so blind to who God has chosen them to be.
Probably the first one that really caused me to ponder in my heart was the Olive Grove believers, and eating dinner with them, watching their faces, not able to talk to them, but seeing that lack of hope and I don't know if it was a lack of trust or just a life is hard look in the face of a couple of the men that sat across from me. In trying to make conversation with them, it was very little, but realizing the severity, I wanted to be lighthearted and happy, but realizing the severity of that meeting for them, if they were recognized and if they were seen meeting and it was thought to be a religious thing, they were going to suffer body harm. I would go home and I would sit at my dinner table where I'm totally free to talk about the Lord and to encourage anyone in the neighborhood to walk in the street, and they can't even walk in their yards.
Everyone believes they have to have some great platform or some great background in order to make a difference.
كل واحد يقول أنا إنسان عادي، أنا أحتاج إن يكون مثلا عندي منبر كبير أو عندي خلفية كبيرة جدا.
The thing that keeps sticking out to me is the anointing that Pastor Charlie has. The blessing that God has given him. Being 82, going on 83 years old, and give him the ability to go 6,000 miles and do what he does. It's just amazing, and it was just so cool to see, because really, from a personal standpoint, I really don't see me doing a whole lot there other than support, and just being there. But just to watch Pastor Charlie and preach about love and forgiveness, it was just amazing.
كمان مرة حبايبي، لأن الرب تحنن علينا نحن أقوياء.
Fill us with love. Give us a burden for the lost and the dying. Lord, awaken me.
Probably one of the highlights of this trip for me was visiting Jericho and seeing the work of Seeds of Hope there, what Tass and Karen have been doing. It was just really rewarding to have known them when they first started their ministry, when God really put a burden on Tass's heart for the people of that region, and just to see what has happened and what
what is going on there, the ideas Taz has, the ministry, the outreach that he's doing there for the children and for the youth, and what God has put on his heart. It was just really rewarding to see those things actually begin to bear fruit. And it's exciting to see the team that he has around him there, to get to meet them. And I'm looking forward to seeing what God really does through the ministry of Seeds of Hope and through Tass and Karen there. And that was really exciting to see.
We went for a tour of Taz's school one morning, and in those few moments, Taz shared with us the why behind his passion for the school. And we got to see him interact with the children, and we got to see Karen's eyes light up as she showed some of the areas that had been worked on, and talked about the heart of the workers that work with them. And we saw them pour into the kids too. And the one thing that Taz said that really just pricked my heart was he was talking about how his life before Christ and how he had worked at getting those 13 and 14-year-old boys off the playgrounds and off the streets, and putting guns in their hands and teaching them to kill and to destroy one another, and building the anger that was inside of them. Since God came into his heart and he began to love as Christ loves, he felt a real passion in his heart, sorrow for what he had taught, but a real passion in his heart to take those guns out of the hands of the children, to teach them to love as Christ loves, to love one another, and to build hope where once he had destroyed that, and to build love where he had built anger.
When I first came to Heartland, I worked with Taz at the steakhouse in a food service. And I remember him going out for weeks at a time, and he would call, panicking that everything was being taken care of, but then he would come back, and you could tell there was a pull on his heart elsewhere also. And there was that struggle of being in two places at one time. And I remember sitting in his office and him crying, and just knowing that God was saying he had something different for him to do, and how hard that was. And going and seeing what that is and what God is doing in him. And he's working in food service. He's serving people. He's still in hospitality. But I know that the time that he spent here, God refined him and did a work in his heart, that it wasn't just about business, but it was about investing in people's lives.
Just because our church as a whole was in the Holy Land, and I know that's been one of Tess's hearts for a long time, and it was so cool to see our family there as a whole. And I think it was something that it finally, I don't know if it sealed something, but it's right when your home church goes to see the work and it approves it. And then the dedication on Wednesday, it was I don't know, it's cool. It was cool to see the product of our church. You know, we see the product on Sundays. You know, a lot of men, women, and girls and boys, they graduate. But as far as going out into the world and on our mission work, it was so cool to see a product from our home church.
As I am from the Middle East, and I grew up in the Middle East, and I know how much it is hard to have such kind of ministry like this in such a place. And it needs time, it needs wisdom, it really needs grace of God to be with them, that this ministry can be fulfilled. And my family and myself were praying for Tess and Karen every day, and we're ready to help at any time he needs us to.
God's got a purpose and a plan, and it's not about me. And I think being there, it just makes you realize there's something much bigger than just my own little world. And again, am I getting my eyes lifted up to see that, but then also being willing to do something and to be a part of advancing his kingdom. And there's just something about the land, there's something about the culture and the people that's just very special. And I think even now more so that I'm home than when I was there, draws you to want to go back and be a part of it, to be involved, to watch it pass before you, and just, it's cool. I know you can't put that up, but I don't know what other word to use. It's just cool.